All right, everybody, can you hear me all right now? I started this back up again. Okay, so this is on the runner-up, and it's a nice setup. I really like the setup. The bull vibes. Sorry, this is a trend right, a bull setup. The only reason I didn't put there is a little bit of ways from the seven. Earlier on, it wasn't too far up here, and it wasn't very far from the seven, but it's run like that. The odds have just changed a little bit. If you're in the trade, I still like it. I'm not saying get out. It's a beautiful bullish setup with the volumes it's been building here. Odds are it's going to get through 70. Watch this thing up around the 72.5 mark or stay in as long as it's in that upper band. Okay, so again, I like the setup. That's the only reason I didn't put it in. It's a little bit too far from the 7 right now. Okay. And one of the other ones, but this fizzled. Darn it. Verifone. Earlier on today, this was pushing up through these highs right here and looking like it might break out, but it's fizzled. It might happen in the coming days, but right now I mean, it doesn't look nearly as good as it did earlier on. And the other one was Diamond Offshore. Okay, with Diamond Offshore, I'm going to bring in the trend, I'm sorry, the Vibe template. Now I'm going to zoom in on this. Okay, the Vibe template. So you've got all the averages falling. This is a bear vibe. Everything falling. And what you're looking for are these pushes down below the 7. This is looking better than it did a little while ago. I'd still, you can see the area for this has been about right through here. A little bit of support for it. I'd like to see it break and run down at least to the lows of yesterday. If that happened today, I couldn't argue an entrance here. It's not following the market. You can see this has just been in a long, steady downtrend. I wouldn't say this is going to make some big move on the market. But if it breaks down, so if it happened to close like this, and we still got a little ways before the market closes today, if it happened to close down, something like that, breaking down below the lows here, this is likely to continue down. Okay, another thing that's nice about this is you can see 60, one of those big round numbers. Okay, we'll continue. We had the triangle pattern going down into 60. Well, it broke through 60 over here, came back to retest it, been battling with it, and if this, again, if it had that big candlestick that dropped much lower today, this ran down into the close and closed near the lows, so, say down in this range somewhere, odds of this going much lower, maybe mid 60s, is pretty high. Not 60s, about, another couple dollars lower, $57 range. Is pretty high, but right here, right now, it's just kind of sitting. It's still bearish. I mean, overall the trend's bearish, and you got the odds that way. But as far as a signal, I would hold off just for a little bit. So those are some of the runner-ups with Diamond Offshore, and then Pay. And then another one I was watching is Broadcom. The signal just fizzled. This has been channeling here in about $1 range. When I like to see these channeling stocks and watch to see which way they go. Well, this gapped into the upper band today. A little bit of a pullback here. You see that black candle right there? It just means it gapped higher, but has run lower throughout the day. And I'm not sold that this can continue going. I would need to see this stay up in the band, or they can come back to 27 and then push higher. Something like that, let that 7 catch up would be a much better signal than right here, right now. All right, guys, one thing I was watching for this for a long time, ConocoPhillips. Yesterday when I was looking at this towards my top 3, it didn't make it because when I was putting my list together, it was sitting about at the $72 range. It was sitting up here when I was putting my list together. I was waiting for this channel to break for weeks and weeks. Not kidding you. A long time I was waiting for that. It was sitting up around 72 when I put the list together, and you can see what it did into the close last night. Went down and formed a beautiful trend rider bear signal. It's a little bit too far gone right now, but that's a very bearish signal. The 70, it about hit 70 today, and that would have just about hit the target. You can see that's 70 where it hit last time. Nice little move on that today, and it looks like I might have missed it. Okay. All right, so that's my top three today. Top two with CSX and HOG. CSX and then Harley Davidson. Okay, nice looking setups right here. All right, well, FNSR. Yeah, I was on a little bit late looking for that last top three, and they just fizzled at the end. So, Kevin, I looked into that. There's a lot of information. I didn't find anything in particular. There's got to be something. I went through the news there at FinViz back around the time that it started to drop, and some of the news I saw was actually good. And so I didn't find anything. I'll keep looking for you. Let's look at Facebook. Well, let me Finisar. Okay, so if looking at it that way, no enter. This is through a trend rider. For a vibe, okay, there's no vibe or a trend rider interest here, but this action is very bullish in nature. I mean, it comes down to 20, held it, and it's pushing up on a very strong volume, very strong technical action going on here today. It's about $1 away from the 7. Not too bad, but as far as any type of a trigger right here and right now to get in, I don't see it, but this is very bullish action. It can keep going. Got the 50 up there a little bit higher. If anything, maybe the 50. Yeah, 50 is pretty decent support / resistance for it. So this might come up towards the $23 range, but there's not. I don't see its trigger right here, right now. Yeah, I mean, I do like the breakout, and the volumes look really good. It's a bullish sign. Okay, Mac. So this would be more of a trend rider. Yeah, and there it is, a trend rider bull signal. I always look to see where the 7 is in comparison to the current price. So it's about $1.50 away from it. Not too bad. With this, really, let me zoom in on this. The volume, and give this one more day, and this volume is going to look more normal. Get this $30 million spike right here we're seeing off. And this volume will look much better tomorrow. Be able to get a better look at it. But come in here. You can see there was a pretty big spike in volume yesterday, even though it doesn't look like much. It's probably double average volume. Today is a little bit less, but it's still pretty good volume. That's it's pretty average volume. It's right there at the 50-day average in volume. So it's decent volume. So 59 is going to be the tester. See how that's hit 59 so many times? And you could also say there's a mutant head and shoulders. It's got two right shoulders. Right? See the two shoulders. You can kind of see my artwork, right? And that's common. You can see several shoulders on these. The 59 level is confirmation. So if you wanted to see if this is going to be confirmed, that's what you'd wait for. Let this get back up through 59. And I'll just draw it in. Let's say this gets up towards the $60 range and then comes back down, and then you get another push up like that. Would be a beautiful bullish entry. Where it's coming up on the level right now, it does have volume. It could break through, but that's what I look for. Let it break up through, get up towards 60, come back, retest 59 somewhere, and then go to push higher. If you got the volume back in there, this would be a really nice setup. This could run another $3 up towards the 62 to the $63 area based on the price pattern right there. Price pattern meaning I'm just going from the shoulders here at 56 up to 59 where the top was. Let me zoom in so you can see that. Okay, so basically the bottom's been right here at 56, the top's been 59, and what you do to determine about how much of a break this can go, you just take the difference right here, $3, 59, it could put it up in the 62 price range. But that 59 level's got to hold, got to break, and then hold as new support before I'd say that that's going to happen. Now this might just take off and run. Sometimes they do that and they leave you in the dust, but just to be a little bit on the safe side, that's what I'd wait for. Good stock, Max. Oh, there you go. FNSR reports earnings, so definitely no trade there, unless you're a straddle guy. But even then, even if a straddle, I don't trade straddles the day of. I've done that once and I didn't like the results. After that, I day traded some of the it just doesn't seem to work out. I like better, more methodical entries. AIG, I'm going to look at both directions here as far as the vibe. This would be more along the lines of a trend rider, but it's not there yet. The bands are pretty tight. Yeah, the bands are pretty tight for this. They're still contracting. When the bands are still contracting, that means this could be some support down here. But it doesn't mean it's not going to break lower right there. The level for this is 48. This might consolidate around this range, but if it pushes down in the lower Bollinger Band, that's where you're going to have a trend rider bear signal come in. Right now, if I was bearish on it, I don't think I'd get out, but there's no bearish entry right here, and definitely not a bullish entry either. It would just, yeah, nothing there right now. Thanks, Lowberg. Yeah, there goes US on it. This is one of those stocks. I looked at this the other day when there was a lot of talk about it in the room, and for me, I always want to wait and see if it's going to pull back a little bit, find a higher low, and watch where that is, and then look to trade the next swing up. But when you do that, you can miss trades sometimes, and that's what happened here. This just kept going, And now if this forms a little gravestone doji today, if I had some gains there, I'd get out because it might pull back on you. Now this isn't necessarily going to act. What you'd have to do is look. Let me look back. Let's look at this and see if there's any gravestones here and how it's reacted to the gravestones. Now there is not a very good one, but I was going to show you this dragonfly right there, but it's not really in the right type of a place. They got to be the right placement for them. So there's a dragonfly towards the top. 2 days later, it rolled over. Now this is an abandoned candle. Those, you talk to Jeff, and when I think of abandoned babies, this isn't a perfect one. I think of Jeff. He loves those candles. This is very close to a gravestone. I'm sorry, a dragonfly. You could call it a shooting, no, not a shooting star. No, a shooting star. I always just say it's close to a dragonfly. It has all the principles, right? It's at a bottom. It's at a bottom now. An abandoned candle, and they're quite accurate. Would typically have a little plus sign. So let's say my cursor there, the little plus sign, that would be an abandoned. What we call it, abandoned, and they're quite accurate. What it is, it gaps down and then gaps back up. When you see those, you're going to notice they're not wrong very often. Now, I didn't trade this. I'm just seeing this. But that's a pretty good indication. I like that. Those abandoned candles like that. So I'm just looking over here for any type of gravestones. Now, when they start coming down into this range, there is right there a very close to a dragonfly. It's at a little bit of a bottom, and there was follow through a couple days later. But if that forms a little gravestone into the close, it's pretty close now, but if I had a gain, I wouldn't be opposed to taking it off. It could be some short-term weakness. Doesn't mean the run's over by any means. It's just short-term weakness is all that's saying. Oh, you were putting that onto your other chart, huh, Vegas? APC. I imagine if you're saying it's a good time to get out, I'm hoping you got puts here. I would say no. If I was in puts here, you see this candle action today? Let's zoom in if you're in puts. So it dips below the 7 over here, and then watch what it does. It comes down. Oops, I don't know why that does that every now and then, but it comes down, it comes right back to the 7. You notice the very next day it shoots back below, and today it went up again to the 7, and by the end of the day pushed over and is trying to run into that lower band. It's very bearish action. If I was going to put here, I'd give it another day. Closes back above the 7, get out. But on that candle right there, no, I'd say stay in if I had a put. Audio problems, if it's not working, if it's crackling up for you. It looks like most people are good here, but just try refreshing. Now FDX has been another one I'm watching. I know John's watching this one as well. Yeah, that darn thing. So let's look at it. You know, this would not those eyes. Let's look at it through the eyes of a vibe. It's close to a trend rider, right? But not there. Now you're going to notice the MAC, you don't see it on my chart here, but look up here. Downtrending, the MACD is downtrending as well. So it's that's not always a sure sign that the run's over, but it is showing some early words escape my mind, darn it. It'll come to me here in a second. What you're looking for for a nice vibe bull entry is for a candle that looks like this. You're looking for a candle like that, down below the 7, or even right on the 7, pushing up there above the 140 mark. If you had a little bit of volume, that would be good. The volume's really drifted off here lately, so there's not a lot of interest as far as sellers or buyers right now. All it's going to take is one good day for the buyers in here and do a candle like that. It's likely to run higher. But right now the indicators are showing a little bit of divergence. Thank you, I remembered it. A little bit of this negative divergence that it's been going through. Now when I talk about negative divergence, let me show you what I mean. There, now you can see that MACD. Let's try that again. To where I got to look at two screens here. There. Okay, so see where the MACD is right here. And notice where the stock price is. It's about 135. Okay, then look at the stock price run higher. Goes up above 137. What's going on with the MACD? Okay, now the stock runs even higher, and what's going on with the 7, with the MACD, sorry. It's running lower. So the stock continues to run higher, yet the indicators are weakening. It's called negative divergence. And you can see the same thing on the rate of change. Big run up here, just about the same time as the MACD hit the high. And then the highs on here keep getting lower and lower as well as the stock continue higher. Okay, so it's showing some negative divergence. It's always not a sure thing type of a sign. It's just a sign of early weakness. I'm not kidding though. If you get a nice bounce here like I was showing here above the 140 mark, it'd be a nice trigger and it's likely to run higher. Yeah, SPM, divergence was the word I was looking for. Thank you. LNG. I know somebody out there is trading this. Had a beautiful, well, no, let me show you. I was looking at this the other day, and I believe it even brought up in here, and the reason I didn't put it was because of this price action right here. Is very strong, big reversal type price action. If I see, because you look at it this day, right, the day when it broke out right here, day where it broke out, you look at it, that's a nice vibe bull entrance. The thing I like about this setup now, but with that, even that had a vibe bull entrance, I didn't like this action right here, because sometimes this type of heavy action like that, stocks just have a hard time getting out of it, but this one didn't. It just kept going. Right now, you know, it's over $3 away from the 7. There's some chances of consolidation. It's in the upper band. It's got big volumes, which suggests it can keep running. All right, but that's why I'm pretty sure someone asked about me the other day. That was the only action that I didn't like about it, but it didn't care about that action, did it? It just kept running. But yeah, you could stay in this big volumes here. Again, those big volumes is what it takes to push these stocks up higher and hold it at the levels. So it's got the big volumes driving it. You could stay in it until it closes within the band. There's some chances here of some consolidation since it's so far away from the 7. It might pull back a little bit since it's that far away, and stocks will normally do that. Okay, I'm just reading through some of the chats again. Apple, it gapped up, and the question was, it had a beautiful entry here. I mean, bull vibe entrance, but the question after it's run that far, this is, could this be the old, buy on the rumor, sell on the news? People knew that they were trying to get a deal done with China Mobile. Now that it happened, how much of that is already priced in? It's a good question. But with, what did I say, 740 million? 740 million people in China, it's hard to get bearish. I'll tell you that. Yeah, Sean, good job. Got calls in LNG. Nice. Gotta love it. So let's so the top three. Okay, I remember I said for the top three I have two. If you refresh your screens, you're going to see them down there. And this is still holding. What we've got 20 minutes or so before the close, still holding up in this. If this happens to drop, I don't think it will, but if it happens to drop here below 27.5, I'd hesitate. But right now, it's still holding up there. As far as hog, same thing. It's holding. It's above the price actions from over here. It's yeah, the setup still looks good for both of these right now. Those were my top two today. I didn't have three. The one that I wanted for well, I had several for a top three, and but they fizzled out. And the one that I really was Sohu. It's a beautiful setup. It's just a little far from the three. My only hesitation. I know some of you got into this. I would not get out if I was in it. This goes along the lines of, that a lot of people this morning were asking about when and if they should still get in. This for me, when I saw it earlier on, if I would have gotten early on, it would have been much different now because the seven's so far away, right? And so the risk changes. I mean, the risk reward changes a little bit. We're buying more expensive options now. It's a little bit away from the three. We don't have any gains built in buying here, so you just assume a little bit more risk. But with as far as win goes, we're looking to ride this up towards 180. And the volumes are still here. It's still on the upper. So yesterday it had a nice. Let's look at this again. Not too long because we got to start talking fishing. Um, a nice bull vibe entry yesterday. All the averages rising. We talked about that MACD, and we looked at these other times when we had bull signals too, and the MACD wasn't rising along with it because of the areas that we've seen here, these pushes here. We got the rising ROC, the indicators. We had strong volume, which suggested a nice breakout. So we jumped in on that signal. Now look at it today. Trend rider. It's a nice trend rider signal. Go in on this. Try to zoom out a little bit so there you can see everything. So we got the MACD, the RSI rising. Pushed the wrong button for that one. Bouncing up off of 15, rising. Look at the volumes. Volumes are good, always good to have. You had big, strong volumes yesterday. You got the Bollinger Band width, right? Which is, it's rising, and that's simply saying the Bollinger Bands are expanding. So it triggered a bull vibe yesterday. Today it's triggering a trend rider bull signal, and the volumes are there. This still looks to go. Anybody caught any trout lately? That's what I catch up out here. Goodyear. Nothing on Goodyear. That's a stock that I've watched from time to time. Yahoo. Oh, sorry. I'll get to you, Martin. Trade on. We did not do a trade today. We're looking to make some of these vibe and trend riders. I don't know about tomorrow, but starting next week, I was going to look for some this week. Look for a better challenge trade instead, and found the challenge trade I wanted, and we're going to go for that. Let me back up. Well, let's start with Yahoo, and then I got to back up into some of these. Sorry, I'm getting there. Nice. Yesterday, this is like just almost like win, right? They're not affected by the market. Yesterday, this one triggered a vibe signal. That's why it went in my top three. Triggered a very nice bull vibe signal with everything rising, indicators, everything. It had strong volume, has a little bit more odds to it. And then today, triggering a trend rider. It's a beautiful setup, very bullish. If I was in it, just keep going. I'd ride it with that 7. I'd look it up towards around the $40 range and then take it. Unless it just keeps going. If it stays in that upper band, you can keep riding it. But I'd look at it towards the $40 area. Okay, nice. BBY. Today, pulling back a little bit, right? This was one of mine from, I think, a couple days ago, I believe. Jumped up, pulling back. Now, the other big, the Walmarts of the world, the Targets of the world, they're down today. That's why I was wondering if this was, now the volumes are light on this little bit of a pullback here. They're going to be light volumes, which is positive for it. Still above the 7 here. But the news of a possible raising the minimum wage, I wonder if that would affect here. Now, this is an electronics store, right? Not like the Walmarts and stuff, which is, but I wonder if that might affect it. It could be affecting it. Down about 2.5%. This is one of those deals. The stop initially was closed below the 7. If you stayed in it, it might catch that and rebound. If you're looking at this just in the terms of typical price action, it technically hasn't really changed much. A move below the 7 and that 50-day moving average there would definitely change things. But you still have the indicators rising. This is just one of those tough holds. If you had a profit yesterday and now you're down to break even or maybe even losing a little bit right now, you're almost back to where you were. The risk would be if the stock pulled down here to 41, you might lose a little bit of money on that. But if it turns and starts running higher, which everything's still rising here, it's still showing uptrend, then it might be worth staying in. Okay. MCD. So McDonald's, this would be more along the lines of a trend rider. With this gapping action, I don't like to play things after gaps, and the second day in a row it's gapped. It's in the lower Bollinger Band. Really high chances of a snapback on these gaps. If I was in puts on here, I don't know if I'd stay in much longer. It's in the bands and stuff like that, but that far away and it's gapped to get there. To me, it just increases the odds that it could go higher. Now, it could keep going down too, but we're assuming a little bit more risk of a snapback when it gets that far away and it gaps that far away on us. Okay. If you're in, like I was saying, if I was in puts, I wouldn't be opposed to pulling it off if you had something, but I wouldn't enter anything right here. Apple going into tomorrow, still in the upper band. It hasn't shown any really bearish tendencies. There's a chance it can keep going. This is one of those. It's rallied $50 in the last 6 days. $50 in 6 days, and one of those days was a down day. So you could say rallied $50 in 5 days, $10 a day practically on average. Big move, but overall it's still in the upper band. If you wanted to stay in, couldn't argue it. There's a chance it might come back a little bit towards the 560 range, but overall it still looks bullish. And believe me, that news had no anything bearish about it, and it moved $50. But again, they've got. Do I have to keep saying it? 740 million. That just an amazing amount of people. There's that's bigger than it's twice the size of the United States population, and that's just their network of users. China Mobile, wow. Okay, now here's a stock that got gapped. I don't know if there was news on it. It's got big volumes. It's gapped. So this one, uh, I don't trade gaps like this. If I was in a call right here, I wouldn't be opposed to taking it. It might keep running, but when they gap right to a level of resistance and they can't get through it, doesn't mean it's not going to. But if I had profits, I'd get out. But I don't see an entry right here. You could say this is a trend right or bull signal, and it's got the strong volumes. But when it gaps like that, and look at this action the last couple days, down here, seven, I'd say $8, and it runs well, ran about 50 cents, and this is an $8 stock. That's a big move. It's really run fast. It's gapped higher. I'd check the news on it, but I don't see an entry right here. When they run up into the band, it's much better signals when they gap into the band and just kind of hold it up there. I always let them settle down a little bit, and there's always a chance they can come back and fill the gap. They're just when they gap like that, it kind of throws the technicals off for me for a little while. Hang on, I will reading through some of the chats. Oh, never mind. Okay, coming down. Best Buy. I'm not sure if you're just here on it, but Best Buy is pulling back today. This is one of those tough calls. It's coming back to the 7. And this is one of the things I was wondering about today because the Walmarts of the world and the Targets and stuff like that, they're falling a little bit today. And I think the reasoning was uh, raising the minimum wage, which is going to hurt companies like a Best Buy and the Walmart and the bottom lines and stuff like that, paying higher wages like that. And like somebody else was saying here, we get to pick up the tab on that. But that might be affecting them a little bit. It's still above the 7. The original entry was on a close. The stop was on a move below the 7. It's still above it. The volumes are kind of light, but it's selling off into the close, which is always a little bit bearish. So yeah, it's coming. There's a couple things here. The 20-day, it's coming down to the 7, lighter volumes, but let me look at Walmart. Again, it's not in the same category as like a Walmart since it's mainly technology and cool gadgets and stuff like that, which I really like. But look at Walmart today. Yeah, and this one's rolled over and got pretty bearish signal there on Target. Not a pretty good looking bearish candle. I don't know if I'd trust it yet because 62.5 there is holding, but that's why they're down. So it's a tough call. I couldn't argue getting out. Just playing on the safe side. If you wanted to let it run and see if it's going to hold the 7, you could do that too. Okay. Yeah, I could not argue taking out a gain here on Walgreens. It's over $2.50 away from the 7 right now. And really, that's the price target I put on it, 56. It's there. I couldn't argue it at all. If you got into this, you got a nice gain on it. It might just keep going. It's still in the lower band. The volumes are still there. It might keep going, but the risk of some consolidation as it's $2.50 away from the 7 now, it just grows. Okay. But congratulations if you got into that. IBM. So this is down here to that 175 mark, and it doesn't seem to want to give it up. But you notice the volumes aren't really increasing around the mark either. and it's not remaining. It's still remaining weak. If you're talking to me, it's not. It hasn't gotten above the lows of 2 days ago, and it's still hanging out there. This is more bearish consolidation than anything, but towards that, really just under 175, the 172.5 appears to be a little bit stronger level of some type of a support down there, because you see the heavier volumes when it got down in that range. 72.5. Look at the volumes when it got down here to 172.5. They really picked up in the range. Down to 175 mark, the volumes picked up as a selling, but look at the lighter volumes here on the buying days. They're just not there, and it still has the bearish tendencies. It's still below the 7. I'd give it another day or so to see if it's going to drop back through that range. And this was a trade of mine from, I think, Monday, I believe. Good job, JC. MPEL. Nice setup. I like this setup. Who put that in there? Richard. Nice. I like it. Trend Rider bull signal. Let me show you something too. Let me go to the vibe. So we got two signals. So everything's rising, and this was yesterday when this one triggered. So this is like our trade in win, and the other one that we looked at a little while ago. Both good looking signals. So yesterday you can see this pushing up above all this price action over here, pushing up over it. You got strong volume. It's a vibe bull entry. Got some follow through today. Not only that, today is showing a trend rider bull signal. You notice the volumes are still strong. A breakout here above 36. I'd put this $2 higher. Pretty conservatively. Well, based on the price pattern, I'm going. It's about 33.50 to about 35.50, somewhere in that range. About $2. And so up to about the $38 range is where I look for this to go. This is one of those where you could stay in as long as it closes in the band too. That's a nice setup. Nice, Richard. Good eyes. Yeah, good job, Sean. All right, so Celdex here is not a trend rider. I don't think it's a vibe. No, not a trend rider or a vibe, but it's a very bearish setup. I'll say that. It's got the big volumes. It's got the RSI breaking 50. It's pushing down off the 7. Today it went up to it. Yesterday it went up to it, pulled back. Today it went up to it, pulled back again, and is running lower. I wouldn't put this past 24 too much. See, the bands are contracting right here. That means 24 around that level could be some support for it. Doesn't mean it's not going to go right into a trend rider bear signal, but it might consolidate around that 24 mark a little bit before it does. Most likely. That's what the odds are saying. If I was in the trade bearish right here, I wouldn't get out. If I wouldn't make it right here though either. Just kind of right there in the middle. Nice, Richard. Nice. I'm glad you got out with a return on that. Good job. And I get people saying, hey, could you listen to the recordings because I work during the day? All right. So Richard just made 17% on WAG. Nice job. Just took that off. FCX, more bearish than anything. This was a top 3. This was an easy one to remember for me because it's the day before Thanksgiving. Last Wednesday is when this entered the lower Bollinger Band right here. And this has been one of those, get a lot of questions on because it's come back up to 7 but sold back off. If you hung in there, you probably did. It's still showing some bearish signals here. It went to the 7, pulled off again. If it closes above the 7, get out. But there's some chances here it could drop to 34 and run into the lower band, which would do the same thing all over again, another trend rider bear signal. So buys and puts, if you had a nice profit, you know me, if you got a nice profit, you're happy with it, then get out, take it and run. And you could sell half here and let the other half run. You could stay in and look for a break lower. But if it closes above the 7, then there's your exit. Okay. Good, Frank. Win in the virtual world's better than nothing, right? I'm not sure, Snip, if you're asking. No, you're not asking about RD. You're asking something else. Let's get on a chart here. Wow, nice, JC. MPEL has been was it $5 in 2010? Oh wow, nice. MJN, top three of mine from a while ago, and it's just right on the 7 there. Okay, now it's showing a little gravestone, but you notice it's not really that much of a top. It's more consolidation than anything. It had a dragonfly over here, didn't do anything. I wouldn't count that as a dragon. I mean, as a, an accurate type of a candle formation right there. If it closes below a 7, get out. If it stays above, stay in. It's coming right from this price action right through here, and it gets up through there. It's off and running, but right now it's just right on the 7. It's slightly above it. So that's one of those questions that you get to make, and you get to make that all the time around the 7. Okay, is it's right above it? Is it's right on it? Do I get out? Do I stay in? It's a personal decision because it's right there, and I get it. I get that all the time. Typically, if it's like that, I normally stay in. Uh, but there you go. Okay, thanks, Steve. CLDX. Now it's a stock offer at 24.5. Yep, that's not going to go anywhere from that normally. Gold core, yeah. A lot of these gold stocks were, and even silver stocks yesterday were jumping up. And I got questions. What do you think is jumping up? And my answer is always wait till that first round of selling comes in and see if if this is the bottom, and there it goes. And this is in the lower right corner. Odds are it's going to stay in that lower right corner. The bottom here, it's tough to say. The next level below, I think, would be 20. I would think some support probably around the $20 area. But that's a pretty wicked chart. If I was in puts, I wouldn't get out. No, it's breaking 21. It's still on that downtrend. All right, but I wouldn't enter at puts right here either. Not an entry. Yeah, the volumes here on Arrow, I'm not too familiar with this. I got light, yeah. The lighter, that's what you're asking. Okay. The light volumes like this, we don't trade these for the most part because the option spreads, if it's optionable, the option spreads are wide for on most of those. Sometimes you'll be surprised. Sometimes you'll be surprised that the spreads might be tight, but on this one, I think the option spreads are wide. That's why we don't trade them. I mean, you could get in and be down 30% in some of these trades just by entering the trade on an option. As far as the chart, what you're looking for here, you'd want to push back up above 30, and you'd have some a nice little bull vibe entrance. But with light volumes like that, we don't. Yeah, the drone makers. I'm laughing because, well, you'll see why I'm laughing. Right? What if you got into trade on these guys, and all of a sudden one of those drones got crashed and burst into flames and started the cornfield on fire or something, right? The stock could come crashing down. All right, I'm having fun. Okay. Let's go back to the top two today. Harley. Yeah, it's closing up. It closed up there. It's a nice looking technical setup. I'd play this towards the $70 area. If it got up around 69.5 and started to weaken, I wouldn't argue taking it. But it's a nice looking trade. Stops on the 7. That's going to be a fairly tight stop. You could even put the stop on maybe today's low. Would be a little bit looser for you. Okay, somewhere around that range. Let's run back and look at, yeah, nice. Here's our trade here, closing up here at 174.5. I'm sorry, 171. Above 171. Nice volumes in the upper Bollinger Band. Still looks good. MGM, yeah, I'm kind of fizzled, didn't it? It was up earlier in the upper Bollinger Band, just kind of fizzled. I've watched MGM. We talked about MGM in here a lot. It's just if you're going to play the casinos, the gaming stocks, play the ones that move. The Winds, the Las Vegas Sands, um, those are the movers. And MPELs, those are moving. And Las Vegas Sands looks great. If you're in this trade, it's in the upper band. Still got the volume. Still looks good. I know a bunch of you guys are in here, and gals are in here, and I wouldn't go anywhere. That still looks good. I mean, these are breaking out of a nice channel, and when they do that, they can look really good. Okay, yeah. I mean, I this still shows a lot of weakness, AK. So there's your lotto put. And I love listening to you guys talk about those lotto picks. I really do. They fascinate me. You guys are, I like it. Good job, SPM. Glad. So with Illumina, what you're looking for, this would be more of a vibe than anything. So it's got the averages rising. What you want here, so it's got 100 right above it. That's one of those big psychological numbers. It's holding on to the 97.5 mark, but you want this thing to push up through the 7 right there. So let me show you. Well, first of all, look at the MACD down there. Notice it's downtrending. Notice the rate of change up there is a little bit downtrending as well. So there's some early weakness, but that doesn't mean the trend's over again, because sometimes that divergence like that, it's just kind of an early sign, but it doesn't always mean it's going to roll over. But you'd want something like this. You'd want to see a candle like that. And if it had some volumes pushing through 100, that would be even better. But if you had some action that got above 100, rising up off the 7 like that, that's what you're after. Yeah, and rising above this price action right here, which is at 100. That would be a nice bull, trend rider bull. I mean, sorry, a vibe bull entry. Right here, it's not there yet. Starts breaking down, then the odds are off. It's below the 7, but it's in a position where it could come right up through it without much of a problem. You guys can still see me, right? Someone's saying no vid. I think I'm still on. I should be. NEM. Okay, yeah, we're fine. If you can't see the video, just refresh your screen. Yeah, this is another gold stock, and it's just like the other one we talked about, gold core. It's in that lower right. It can keep going in that lower right. You could say that this is a little bit of a gravestone formation towards the bottom, which could suggest a little bit of consolidation. I wouldn't say that the downtrend's over, but it could consolidate a little bit here back towards the 7. I don't know if you wanted to look at this one. BBL, lighter volume stock. I don't see a trade here unless it starts pushing back below that $59 area. Probably that wasn't what you wanted. You were saying there. Let's go to Goldman Sachs. Yeah, bearish price action here on Goldman's. Not a trend rider. It's not a vibe. What you could look for here is something like this. All right, and you've seen me, I've been talking about this a lot lately. See the stock up here. Okay, so it hits the upper Bollinger Band and starts to run lower, but when it breaks the 20, a lot of times stocks will go right to the lower band. Did it do it over here? Well, here it bounced lower, right? Didn't break the 20. and then once the 20 was broken, it came back to the lower band as well. Okay, but that was a nasty upsurge there. I'm sorry, it didn't break it till over here. I was looking at that 7. It broke the band here and came back down to the 7. Okay, and that's what you'd be going for here. It's right on the 20. A push below here could take it down towards the 160 mark, and that's where it might not be there by the time it would fall that far, but a good chance it could come to the lower band. But that's more an emotional type trade. It's not one of these, hey, the indicators are, and the trend and everything's going my direction. That's more, hey, it's done in the past, it's likely to do it this time type of a thing. And it just, the odds are probably there with you, but it's not going to be quite as accurate as the other ones. Darren, I know you sent me an email yesterday. I've got that, and I'll get back with you. Okay. It's just been a busy day for me. I did not forget you. Gold. Are you talking the stock or the price? I'll go look at the stock. It's tough. It's a tough call here on gold. The reasoning out there, gold falling, is the threats of tapering. The threats of tapering. That's why gold has just been falling and continues to go. So yeah, I don't know. Who was it? Paulson, the big hedge fund manager, the billionaire manager there in New York. How many billions did he lose on gold? He kept piling in as it kept going down lower and lower and lower. And last I heard, a couple of weeks ago, I read that he stopped buying it. He's lost, 2, 3 billion. I don't remember the final numbers. You could probably Google it, but I know he's lost billions in gold. And this is the guy that I hats off to the guy. I don't know him. I'd love to know the guy, but he's the guy that called. Not that one. Sorry. He's the guy that called the financial crashes. He saw the interest rates. He saw the subprime mortgages. He took his fund and basically shorted everything to get his hands on that had anything to do with subprime loans, and he pocketed $4 billion. His fund pocketed $10 billion. And he's pretty. That's where he got some notoriety right there. And he's been in the news here and there a little while ago. Dude, the guy donated $100 million to Central Park in New York, and that's I love it when guys do stuff like that. VHC here. Let me bring in a vibe. Yeah, I mean you got a vibe, a bear vibe. Well, see the 200 is going flat, but that's not necessarily anything. I'd want this one to start breaking through 19. You can see the indicators falling up here, which is off your screen. Our rate of change. It's been in a downtrend. You could call this a little bit of a descending triangle pattern. A breakdown here. So if you happen to get this, not that action, this action tomorrow, where it's even if it gaps up, and if it gapped to the 7 and run back lower today, if you get something like that breaking down here towards 19, be a great bearish setup. Yeah, but it's not there today. If I was in puts, I'd stay in, but not that setup to get in is not there. DDD. It's still above the 7. Let me look at this through TrendRider. But you can see, I mean, this would be more of a vibe. It's on the 7. Let's zoom in so you can get a look at that. Now, some divergence, right? We talked about divergence. I'm going to go there again, but it's right on the 7. If it broke close to the 7, I'd get out. If you saw some action like this coming up off the 7, beautiful bull vibe entry if you get it. You notice the volumes are light here compared to the buy-in volume over here, but you'd need something like that to get bullish on it right away. Yeah, 3D and 3M, those stocks have been a lot of good comments in here. All right, guys. Another great day. I appreciate everybody being here. Yeah, that Bitcoin, go check into that. They're having problems in China, but pretty interesting to see these guys trying to get that going. Okay, everybody, have a great night. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and take care. Bye bye.